ConnectYard, and again, I want to thank you for taking the time to participate in our webinar, which is entitled Learn How Microsoft Office 365 and ConnectYard Increase Student Engagement. So first, it's my pleasure to introduce our key speakers for today's session. We'll be joined by Eric Herzog. Eric is actually a senior product manager at Microsoft. He'll be joined by Don Doan, who is our CEO and co-founder at ConnectYard. And they'll be joined by Anthony Castro from ConnectYard development team. Anthony will actually take you through the ConnectYard application for Microsoft SharePoint Office 365. So the plan is to share how our two solutions work in concert to really speed messaging and response to those messages to create a really more cohesive and connected learning environment. But before I turn it over to Eric and Don, since the phones will be muted during the presentation or throughout the presentation, please type in any questions into the GoToWebinar question frame, and then at the very end of our session, we'll address the questions. So again, welcome everyone, and with that, let me turn it over to Don to get us started.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that introduction. And so again, today we'd like to just cover a brief overview of ConnectYard, the new app for Office 365, and then Eric will provide some information and background around the Office 365 offering. From there, we'll go into a live demonstration, which Anthony Castro will deliver, and then we'll talk about how you can actually access a free trial of our new app for Office 365 as well. We'll open up, as Mike mentioned, at the end for any questions. You can feel free if you have questions to type them along the way, but we'll certainly get them addressed at the end of the session. So the new ConnectYard app for Office 365 effectively allows you to extend the current communications capabilities within SharePoint. So you can initiate messages from within SharePoint and reach your users, which could be staff, faculty, or students, on basically their favorite mobile and social spaces. So it allows you to, for example, post announcements in SharePoint that are then delivered to those users in any way that they choose. They can opt to receive them on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, on their mobile devices, or even as email. Users also have the option of not only receiving these alerts, but also replying to them. So if you like to allow for two-way conversations, which is great for increasing engagement, you can certainly do that. And the way it works is, if you look at ConnectYard, the app, and think about it as a hub and spoke model, the app sits in the center and it connects to all these various channels. So you have text messaging, for example, where basically the user can send a message, initiate a message via the phone, and then have that message sent out to other users in any way that they choose, and it will also populate in SharePoint. The great thing about this within an educational setting is that all the information is kept completely private. So that means that the user's cell phone number is not shared. So if you're an instructor, as an example, and you want to text a message in response to a question a student has, the student actually won't see your phone number. So that means you won't be getting calls or texts at 1 a.m. in the morning when they're working on a problem set. The same is true for Facebook. All the information is kept completely private. You don't have to worry about seeing any of your students' personal information. That means no pictures from Friday night's party will show up on your feed. Twitter is also kept completely private, as well as LinkedIn. These are basically just additional ways to securely message and engage your users. And again, all this happens seamlessly within SharePoint, which we'll show you momentarily. So before we go further, we wanted to also take a quick poll there to talk about different ways that you may actually want to engage with the SharePoint app. So there's three options there. You can increase communication between faculty and students for more effective promotion of student events and activities, particularly for student services, for enhanced emergency notifications, and then if we didn't actually get that, let's do that as well. We're getting great feedback. So it looks like most of you are looking to increase the engagement between the students and instructors, which is great. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Eric to talk a little bit more about Office 365.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate the time here. So I wanted to just do a quick level set just to make sure, in case people are not totally familiar with Office 365, I want to just provide a high-level couple of thoughts in terms of orienting people around what it is, and then we can, and where we have a new app model as a component for Office 365 that people can take advantage of. And so, ConnectYard is really, I think, one of our first partners out of the gate to come up with a highly compelling app for the education customers. And so I want to talk just a little bit about those things. First, and Don, I think you might, thank you for advancing the slide for me. The first one is, what is Office 365? So if we think about productivity services running in sort of the Microsoft Cloud infrastructure, there's a lot of products or servers that people are used to having on premises that they would install locally, whether that was Microsoft Exchange or Microsoft SharePoint or Lync. Those things today can all be now made available in the cloud. And so the way that we think about that is we think about it as Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Lync Online, as you see at the top part of the slide. Additionally, one of the new offerings with Office 365 is also a real different way that people can actually use and deploy Microsoft Office itself. So if you think about Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, Outlook, etc., that a student, teacher, or faculty member or administrator might download onto their computer. The box that is on the lower left corner here, the Office 365 Pro Plus, is the actual SKU, if you will, of Microsoft Office that somebody can download as a component or an added-on component of Office 365. That's important because if you do it that way, we actually allow the user that has the license for that component to be able to install Microsoft Office on up to 5 devices. And whether those are PCs or Macs, it doesn't matter. You may also recently have caught word of the Microsoft Office for the iPhone release that came out. And that's available if you have an Office 365 subscription, whether it's an organizational subscription such as this or the consumer offering. The other thing that I think is new for a lot of people is what launched in February, which was additional offerings around Project Online and a Visio Pro as well. So if you have people doing project management on campus or with the school district around whatever sorts of projects are can be happening, having that as an integrated component of Office 365, people are starting to explore the value of having that. And for those of you that are Visio fans, that's also now available. There's a mix and match in terms of there are some basic offerings that are free, and then there are some additional offerings that have add-on pricing. That's a topic for a separate phone call that we can do at another time. What I wanted to spend a second on next, though, if we can jump to the next slide, is really the Office Store and this app model that we've introduced with the latest Office 365 release that happened back in February. And the Office Store, if you think about, there's an app store for some competitive platforms that we're all familiar with. There's also now an app store for Windows 8. There's also now an Office App Store. And so what's important about the Office App Store is that it is a full app store. It's global distribution. It uses a lot of industry-proven web standards. It has the scalable and secure security requirements for people to create and publish applications out there. And it also has a number of flexible development options in terms of how people want to create an app and then push that app forward to the marketplace. So on the next slide then we'll dig in just a little bit more, and I'm not sure if the animation is going to work through this, so we'll have to see. It is working, so that's great. The idea here is that while you start off with sort of the products and platforms and around SharePoint and Office, and then on the right-hand side you can have the services and the data around whether it's Dynamics or Windows Azure, Bing, SQL Server, or Yammer. Then these apps can start to really light it up for end users, whether they're students, teachers, or administrators, in terms of just daily things that they have to do, and whether that's I need an expense calculator for that I'm going to track using Excel, or a standard vacation request, or event planning. There's other line of business things they can start to work with around maybe help desk support or learning management or risk management. And if you think about this, there's a number of line of business activities that people do in education around these types of functions, whether they're ERP related or HR related, or even in an academic setting if it's scheduling classes, or if it's places to turn in homework, etc. There's now a model to build apps that can integrate with the communication and collaboration platform that the educational organization, be it a K-12 school or university, has signed up with. So you can have that integration between having an app to, say, get some homework done, but then be able to easily share that information with the other students or teachers that you're working with as part of a class project or in part of the learning path that you're on. What's great about what ConnectYard has done is they took advantage not only of the modern app development resources that we made available, but they also took advantage of the ability to publish the app into the App Store. And so that makes it, for anyone who is on Office 365, easy to find the application from ConnectYard and easy to implement it inside of their Office 365 environment. What I will say, though, that is important to keep in mind is we released the sort of current version of Office 365 in February of this year. And some folks that signed up for Office 365 prior to February may still be on a slightly older server infrastructure, and everybody's being upgraded right now over the course of the next several months. So you may not, what you're looking for is to see if you're on the sort of SharePoint 2013 server infrastructure in order to reach out and get the ConnectYard app, as opposed to the SharePoint 2010 infrastructure. Again, that's a topic perhaps for some follow-up that we can do later, because I really want to turn this back over to ConnectYard and have them really show you, what the app is, what it does, and how you can go out and get it today. So with that, back to you.
And Eric, maybe what we can do just quickly is take another brief poll just to see how many folks have actually deployed before February. So we'll get a better sense there.
Who signed up prior to February? Yeah, because that February 27th date is if you signed up with Office 365 after, then or on or after that date, then you have the 2013 server infrastructure behind it. And if you signed up before, you've got the 2010 server infrastructure. And like I said, we're starting those rolling updates now to the service, but have not yet completed all of those updates yet.
Okay. No, great. So far, the polls looking like the majority of people came in after. We'll give it a few more seconds to let any additional people respond. And up here. But yes,
wow, that's great.
Majority of folks are on the latest and greatest.
And for the couple of folks that did sign up before, again, not to worry, keep an eye on your management portal. You'll be getting a notification of when the upgrade is headed your way. As you can imagine, it's a large project for us in our data centers to do that upgrade. So just keep an eye there, and you'll see the notifications in the next several months of that coming.
All right, great. So with that, we'll go ahead and start the actual live walkthrough. And we'll turn it over to Anthony.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Don and Eric. So I'm going to be taking you through showing you how you can actually use the SharePoint app and also the overall functionality of ConnectYard and show you, all the different types of channels that users can receive these announcements or other communications you're sending out. Really quickly, we do provide some information in the deck, which you probably have access to. But if you do want to, check out the app after this, try to play around with it a little bit in your environment, if you go directly to our website at www.connectyard.com, right on that front page, you'll see a little banner for Office 365. If you click on that, and then if you go down a little bit and click on the education link, you can click on the Try It Out button, and then you'll be able to add it to your environment. So this is how you would actually add it and start playing around with it. Okay. All right, so now I just wanted to show you what the app looks like, what it does. So I actually have my SharePoint Online environment pulled up. This is just my little demo environment that I'll be using today. And you can see that I've already added our SharePoint app to the environment. So I can actually click on that, and it's going to launch me right into the app. And when you do this, you're going to get that single sign-on experience. All of your information is here, depending on what user you're logged into. And there's a few things going on here. The first thing is that you're going to get all of your messages as they're coming in. This is kind of what we call like your timeline view. You'll have access to your messages and replies. Really, what's going to be important for you if you're pushing out information to students or other faculty members is you're actually going to want to post messages out. So what we have here, you can actually add announcements. So up here I can click on that. And I'm actually going to add announcement just like I would any other announcement list. And this is actually going to be more of a student services scenario that we're running today. But of course, you could totally use this in teaching and learning. I already have my message typed up here, so let me just paste that out. Okay. So for this scenario, this is actually something that we borrowed from one of our partner institutions. And this is a photo contest where they're asking students to send in photos that they've taken around campus. And then basically what's going to happen is students vote on it by liking it through the platform. So I'm going to send this out. And you're probably wondering now what happens next. Well, now I've posted this announcement within our SharePoint app. And what's going to happen is behind the scenes, as soon as you post that, not only is it going to be accessible in here, but it's also going to notify the students and whatever other users you have in all your different groups in your institution, or as we like to call them, yards. It's going to notify them on all the different channels that they've configured. So they could be receiving this little announcement here that I posted on their phone as a text message, or on Facebook through the Facebook app that we have, or on Twitter, different email addresses, or even LinkedIn. So what I'm actually going to do is switch over to kind of the student side and show you exactly how you would receive these communications, these announcements, and how you could reply back to them. Really quickly, though, what I wanted to touch upon was how do you actually get all your users signed up and get all these channels added to their account? Well, what's going to happen is when you add the SharePoint app to your environment, as soon as users enter the app, they'll automatically get accounts created for them. You can also kind of bulk create these accounts for all of your users. And then first time they access it, they're going to be brought through the sign-up wizard. You can also send out a welcome email, so that's another way of accessing this. But it's going to guide them through the process of adding all of their different channels. So if they have email addresses that they check more frequently than their university email or whatever they have at their institution, they could add those here. They could also link up their cell phone to receive those SMS notifications. And just to let you know that these emails and texts, they're not just one-way announcements. They're not pushing out information. Students will also be able to reply directly to them, and that's what I'll be showing you in just a second. And then finally, of course, if you have these social media accounts, you can link them up. Pretty simple process. Mine are all linked right now, but if it's not linked yet, it'll give you a button. You click on it. It'll ask you to sign in, grant permission so that we can send you notifications, and then you're good to go. And finally, really quickly, I just wanted to touch upon this in the sign-up wizard the first time you do this. You set up your default settings. So this is something you set up once. You can say what channels you want on by default, you know, how frequently you're getting these notifications. And then if, for instance, you know, maybe a semester from now or a couple of years from now, you're put into another group or yard, it's automatically going to take on these default notification settings. Even if it is something that, you know, maybe it's not a group in SharePoint, maybe it is a course in an LMS or some other type of external group that you've created, it's going to take on these settings so users don't always have to go back in here and change them. All right, so now back on the student side, you know, I'm already logged into all my different sites. I'm going to be showing you what these announcements look like and how you can reply to them. First thing I just wanted to show you, one of our, I would say one of the most popular channels that are used among students is the Facebook app. And the way this works is that, you know, once you've configured this and you've opted into the notifications, you're going to get those little pop-ups in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen if you're currently browsing the site. So, you know, they'll pop up. It'll make that little blooping noise, so you know, students will know when you're sending them announcements. If you know they're not currently browsing, it doesn't pop up for them. Of course, everything's going to be located in their main notification area. So, you know, just where they see all the other activity, if someone posts on their Facebook wall or sends them some other type of request, it'll be located in the same spot. None of this information is published to their profile or in their news feed. So all of those, you know, privacy concerns, you know, you don't have to worry about that. It's all kind of contained and only visible to this end user. But I can actually click on this notification here, and that's going to launch the Facebook app. And like I said, you know, this is just one way that students can actually access the announcement and the replies. But this is the first thing I just wanted to show you. First thing here, this is the exact same announcement I just sent out from SharePoint. So this is what we really mean by that kind of multimodal approach. You can send it out in one spot and have it arrive to students on, you know, whatever channels they're using. So this is the, you know, that SharePoint announcement. And down here, you're actually going to get all the replies as they're coming in. And they could be received from whatever channels the students are using. So down here, you can see this is the first one that came in from Matt. He was actually able to, you know, reply from the Facebook app, which is the same thing I'm in currently. And then students, you know, because this is a photo contest, they'll be able to attach any, you know, photos that they've taken around campus. If it's some other document that students want to attach to their reply, they can certainly do that, whether it is, you know, a document, a PDF, a Word doc, something else. Even if it's a video, you could certainly attach that to your message, and then, you know, depending on the message attachment, you'll be able to preview it right in here. We also got some replies in from Mike and Donald, and you can see that their replies are actually coming in from text. So that's also probably, you know, alongside Facebook is one of the most popular channels that students like to use. So you can opt into those SMS notifications. If it is something like this where it requires a reply, they can just hit reply on their phone, send a quick text, and it'll be posted back to, you know, this original thread that's going on. And then, you know, if you are using your phone, you can certainly attach that photo just like you would in the Facebook app. All right, so that is Facebook. Of course, you know, students would also be able to reply here. Moving on, just to show you what this looks like in Twitter, a couple ways that this could be displayed. First, but by default, what will be enabled if you do turn on the Twitter notifications is that our ConnectYard feed is going to send out a tweet, and we're going to mention you. So if you check your mentions list, this is where everything's going to be located. If you have the Twitter app on your smartphone and you get those push notifications for mentions, it's also going to pop up right there. So that's another way of receiving it. Again, you can customize how your announcements are being displayed to users. If it is something like this, where it's not, you know, too sensitive, you can actually have it posted on Twitter where users can see it. If it is something that maybe you don't want the whole Twitter universe seeing, you can optionally, you know, kind of configure that on the yard level so that they're marked as private, and users will have to log in to view the message. You can also, if you don't want to opt in to kind of the mention notifications, you can receive them as a direct message to your account. So that option is there for you as well if you don't, just don't want to display it everywhere. Of course, LinkedIn, you can get them right to your inbox, your LinkedIn inbox. So this is the same announcement here. This is just another channel that might be more popular for maybe adult learners or professionals who are using ConnectYard. Finally, one last point while I'm on kind of this end user side of things. Not only can you have those messages arrive to students, directly to their account through the Facebook app, right to their, Twitter mentions list, but you could also link up any pages or feeds that you have for your institution right to ConnectYard, so that, you post that message the first time, and it can automatically publish to your feeds or pages for you. So it really is a one-step process. You don't have to go scrambling, updating all these different pages at once. You can link it up, and we'll automatically publish it for you. So here's that same announcement I sent out from SharePoint, posted right on this kind of little test Facebook page we have set up. And then also Twitter feed, you can do that as well. So there's really a variety of options for you to really reach your students or other users. Okay. Now, kind of switching back gears over to the administrator side of things, we were getting replies coming in from students for that photo contest. And of course, all of your replies, they'll be coming in to the SharePoint app, so you'll have access to them here and whatever other channels you linked up. But let's say, for instance, you're not currently in front of your work computer. You don't always want to be logged into SharePoint. As the administrator, you could link up any other channels that you may have and receive notifications that way. So while I do have SharePoint open, I also have those email notifications turned on for this administrator role. So this is something you're already used to. You're already getting emails every day. So this is an option for you if you don't want to be logged into SharePoint all the time. And here's the most recent notification I got. Looks like Mike's was the most recent here. So you'll get the most recent response here. You can opt in to receive the entire message history. That way, like I said, you don't have to be logged into your different sites, portals, LMSs, 24/7 to view the entire context of the discussion. It's all contained here. And if it is something that requires, your response to things, you can simply hit reply. And I can say, congrats, Mike, you're our winner. And I can send that right out. And, once again, as soon as I send that email, it's going to post back into kind of the discussion that's been going on here. It takes a second, but it'll pop up. And so, you can be working within email and not be logged into SharePoint and just hit that reply, and then it'll be posted for you. So let me go back here. And you can see here, this is that response I sent in from email. Okay, so that's what you'll have access to within the SharePoint app. There are some other advanced features that you will have access to if you want to log in directly to kind of the ConnectYard.com portal. So I'll show you that now. So let me switch over my window here. Just a couple other things I wanted to show you what you have access to. First thing is that you'll be able to track the views on the announcements or messages you're sending out to all your users. So here, this is that announcement I sent out from SharePoint. I can see I have 7 views in my little test yard here, but if I click on that, I'm going to get a more detailed listing. And this is going to show you the first time the user viewed the message, actually how long it took them to view it after you sent out the message, and the last few times. So if it is a discussion that replies are coming in, you can see if users are actually keeping up to date with the conversation. And these views are going to be recorded on a variety of channels. So if users are opening up those email notifications, that's tracked for views. If they're in the Facebook app or the SharePoint app or within this kind of ConnectYard.com portal, those will be tracked as well. if they opted into the text message notifications and they received that, that's also tracked. And you'll be able to see what channel that these views are being recorded on. So you're really able to make sure that your students are receiving your notifications or your announcements and actually reading them. Going back here, you can see when I sent out that message, I didn't really point this out at the time, but I used this hashtag here. And if you guys are familiar with other social media sites like Twitter, most recently Facebook added this hashtag function. But what you're able to do is actually come up with these different tags, tag your messages, and then as they're getting sent out, they can start trending. So you can see over here, in my trending topics section, you got photo contest trending, and we also have this section over in the SharePoint app. But really what trending topics does, it kind of gives you a snapshot of the conversations that are going on within the yard or your entire institution. So whatever is being talked about currently, or if something is really trending, it'll start moving to the top of that list. But not only does it give you kind of a snapshot of things, but it's also a good way to organize content. So if it is something, maybe you're sending out announcements about an upcoming event and you keep sending out reminders, or it's a deadline about something, you might want to come up with a unique hashtag for something, for that event or whatever you have. You tag all your messages with that tag. That way a student can actually click on that tag and they're going to get a complete list of all of the messages that are associated with that tag. So it makes finding content really easy. Finally, we do have reports, so that's kind of in line with the view tracking. But I can run a report on my yard or my entire institution, and you're able to look at the past hour, the past day, the past week, the past semester even, and you're able to see kind of what is the messaging like within that time window. How many of my users are actually active? What's the channel breakdown for this particular group of students or the entire institution? On average, how quickly are users viewing my messages? So that's all there for you. And this really comes in handy when you want to kind of track your student engagement. Really quickly, just want to touch upon this other reporting. This might be more useful if you're using this within the teaching and learning sphere. But this is basically an activity log of all your users. So if it is something you want to kind of track that student engagement more in depth, this will give you a log of all their activity. You can drill down into a particular user and see exactly what they've interacted with. So that's also there for you. All right, and that is pretty much what I wanted to show you all today. I'll turn it back over to Mike, and we'll field any questions that you may have.
That's great, Anthony. Thank you very much. And yeah, we've got a number of questions, and I'll try to get to all of them if we can. If we happen to run short, we'll certainly follow up with you individually. But the first question, and I'll paraphrase this a little bit. They're asking about resources to get started, but basically I think it's how easy is it to get started using the ConnectYard application with SharePoint. So Don, I think I'll point that in your direction, please.
Mike, would you mind repeating that for me?
Yeah, it's how easy is it to get started using the ConnectYard app with SharePoint?
Oh, it's extremely easy in the sense that basically, if you can already post an announcement through SharePoint, that's all you need to do. There's nothing you need to do different. So you basically go in, post your announcement as Anthony showed before, and then ConnectYard will work its magic from there. It's very easy for the students to use because they already know how to use Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Excuse me, there's no need to train them on that. They know how to text. No need to train students on that. So again, it really leverages the technologies that students know already and that they love, and brings it all together with SharePoint, which is really exciting. So
great, thanks, Don. And again, this is coming back at you as well. Would the staff or faculty need to join Facebook or Twitter in order to use ConnectYard?
No. In fact, once you enroll your faculty and staff, they can continue using SharePoint, Outlook, in terms of communication. They don't have to use anything social at all. And then all their messages, though, again, can be delivered to students any way that they choose to receive them. So, I mean, we've had cases where, staff members and faculty members, have come to us and said, my students thought I was so cool because they got a message on Facebook or Twitter from me, and they actually thought I was on there, and they've never used, Twitter in their life. So, yeah, you don't have to sign up for any of those channels in order to take advantage of the engagement those channels deliver.
Right, and Don, this kind of goes hand in hand. It looks like I'm trying to group them as I can, but if this has to do with privacy, I suspect. If I join ConnectYard using Facebook, will I see students' personal wall postings, or will they see mine?
That's a great question. It comes up quite often. The short answer is no. ConnectYard keeps the communications completely private. So if you're using ConnectYard with Facebook, none of your friends can actually see that you're using ConnectYard. They can't see any of the messages that are delivered to you. So they don't show up in your news feed. No one can like them. You can't, share them outside of the app. It's all completely private. Obviously, you'll see the notifications once they arrive, but only you will see them. And again, none of your personal information will be shared with anyone else.
Great. Yeah, and that takes care of another question as far as sharing cell phone information. So that's all protected as well. Now, what if a student doesn't have a smartphone? Can they still receive information from ConnectYard?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Mike. That is one of the key benefits of the app, is that it really allows everyone to take part in the conversation, regardless of what technology they're using. So if a student doesn't have a smartphone, they can get a text. Right, as long as the phone is text capable, they can communicate and take part in a conversation, with a simple text. Other students who do have smartphones might want to enable, social media capabilities like Facebook, or Twitter or LinkedIn. We've had a number of instructors that tell us that they love being able to respond to to students on the go via email, from their phone. So without necessarily having to go in and log into another system. So again, you can respond from anywhere. You could be inside SharePoint if you're in the office. You could be on your phone and texting or emailing, or on your social channel, depending on which you prefer.
Okay, no, that's perfect. Thank you, Don. And again, I'm not leaving Eric out of the equation here. It looks like Eric's been responding, to many of the questions that we've received keyed in. So I'm bypassing some of those. But we have a number of questions that pertain to utilization of Outlook. And so, Don, does ConnectYard support Outlook?
Yes, it does. So you can use ConnectYard, as Anthony showed, with Outlook. Effectively, if you are currently using a listserv today, as an example, to email information out to students, whether it's about financial aid or an upcoming job fair or a campus event, you can use a similar listserv approach with ConnectYard, where it's just a simple email ID that you send a message to. The big difference is that the message will arrive to the student not just as an email, but as a tweet, a text, a Facebook notification. So again, it gets the information in front of them very quickly, puts it in places that they're more likely to check more often than they will other channels. But from your standpoint, it's as simple as sending an email. Again, it's something that staff who are already sending emails out can easily do. And of course, instructors who are sending emails to their students or class can easily do that just with the email ID.
Great. And again, I saw in the demonstration that Anthony had shown that we can update the Facebook page. What about automatically updating Twitter pages?
Yeah. Again, there's Facebook as well as Twitter. So the big benefit here is that a number of the institutions we partner with, each department has their own Facebook page and Twitter page in addition to that. And when there is important or timely news needs to be delivered, let's say in an event of there's an emergency on campus, and you need to get word out very quickly. ConnectYard basically will allow you to post one message and have it delivered to all these places simultaneously. So it will save a considerable amount of time, which in an emergency situation can save lives, right? So it would go out to everywhere that your school has a presence on the social web within Facebook and Twitter.
That's good. A good segue into the question down the list a little bit is, if our school already has an emergency notification system, are we still able to leverage ConnectYard?
Again, short answer is yes. You can. And we have a number of schools we work with where they have an existing system, but their system doesn't have the ability to add all these different social channels. And so one of the things that ConnectYard will do is you can literally install it as a module that complements your existing system, allows you again to post a message to your existing system, and then we deliver that message to all the social channels, and it will go directly to the user's social media account. So it's great to post it on your Facebook page, again, which we do, on your Twitter page, but that goes into the user's news feed, where sometimes, again, for any of those who are familiar with Facebook or familiar with Twitter, there can be quite a bit of information in your news feed. Having that little red notification show up there at the top can certainly make all the difference. So we'll deliver it directly there. We'll deliver directly as a direct message on Twitter. So again, they'll be notified immediately of the information. So it's a great way, again, to enhance the existing capabilities of any emergency system you may already have in place.
Alrighty.
And I also want to mention there's a couple of questions in the question manager that I need a couple of you to answer because they're not Office 365 questions. So if you can look over in some of those questions too, that would be great.
Good. Eric, if you've got specifics, could you reference them, please?
Sure, yeah. So the first one was from Kim, who stated, I noticed that you assigned points to replies. Can the scores be imported into a CSV or Excel file for my gradebook?
And the answer is yes, they can. So it's great you brought up the point because we have a number of instructors that are using that as a way not only for grading, but also as an early warning system. So they're looking at the activity and saying, wow, this particular student is not even bothering to view announcements I'm sending out about upcoming assignments or quizzes. So there's obviously there's an issue. So it's great for again quantifying the level of participation within the course, but it's also a great way to look and see who may be falling by the wayside.
Okay, good. Eric, any others that I may have missed that you had in mind?
Sure. There's one in here that says, let's see, will the districts be able to archive the mail of the faculty and staff? If that is a question from Christine, if that's a question regarding Office 365, we do have Exchange email archiving as an offering within 365, but I'm not sure if your question is related to 365 or to the communications going back and forth through ConnectYard. Don, do you want to address if there's archiving available for those communications?
Sure. So all of the messages that originate from from SharePoint will be stored in ConnectYard and delivered as emails, which can then be archived through whatever system you already have. So, I mean, we can serve as the system of record. Obviously, all the communications will be logged, inside ConnectYard. But if they're emails, typically those are archived through, whatever process you're already using.
Yeah, and I should point out, too, that SharePoint also has archiving capability as well. So we just want to talk more specifically about how the different systems are set up at with your school, and we could identify what would be the appropriate way to accomplish the archiving. There's another question in here that from Ron who says, I have Exchange in SharePoint, but we don't use SharePoint in the class. Is it still possible to use ConnectYard? We also have Exchange. Is that possible as well? And so the idea would be that you could have a, if you're not using SharePoint in the class, the question to think about is, where is the one point where you can enter a message and then have ConnectYard distributed out broadly to the students? The presentation we're having here today is to use SharePoint as that one point. So if the teacher wanted to create a SharePoint site, then the students don't necessarily have to have access to that SharePoint site because they could then be receiving the messages in whatever modality that they were looking for, whether it's Facebook or text messaging, etc. And then you also mentioned that you do have Exchange. Is that possible as well? And the idea would be that the notification that you post, ConnectYard can push that out into email, which is what Exchange would be serving. So Ron, if that doesn't answer your question, go ahead and maybe pose another question, and we can refine that answer a bit more. Don, do you have any other additions to that?
No, Eric, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Okay, great. There's another one here, also from Ron. Is it possible to use just an individual person, or is it the whole group that gets the information? And I think what that question is, can I set it up such that ConnectYard, I can do one-to-one private messaging, or is ConnectYard more of just a broadcast message to the larger group? Don, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. And so actually, it can be both. You have the option of either sending effectively a group message or doing one-to-one communications. The one-to-one communications, again, are completely private, so that when you're having a discussion with a student, for example, only you and that student can see the conversation.
Great. And then another question here from Kim that who stated, is it compatible with native devices, iOS and Android? And the answer is yes, because what you're doing is you're actually publishing out to the apps that would be on those devices. So on iOS, you might have email or Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, and you could receive your notification to those areas. And of course, you could receive a text message to that on iOS or on Android. Kim, let me know if that didn't answer your question. There's another, Ron is in here clarifying, and he says, okay, I'm in charge of a clinic system, and our classrooms are our clinics. We're communicating with individual interns about cancellations of patients or new patient schedules. Okay, so that's where he's thinking, can you do the individual messaging as well as the broadcast messaging? And so in that scenario, Ron, I hope that we have addressed it, that you can do the individual messaging as well. Let us know through the question manager if not.
No, absolutely. That's good. Eric, I appreciate the help. There were just two others. Hitchhiking on Don's answer as far as the private messaging. There was also a question on, is messaging one-way or two-way? And certainly it depends on the use of the yard, but you can actually enable it to be one-way or two-way. So you can do a one-way blast, or you can have responses, as Anthony had shown you. And then, Don, there's a question about being able to integrate ConnectYard function with like their portal.
Right. So you know, again, the ConnectYard app it seamlessly integrates with SharePoint, and once you initiate that message outside of from SharePoint, it goes outside to a number of different channels. Those channels could be social media sites, but they can also be other types of applications. We have an API that's actually designed for that, so that if you want the message to arrive at another location, might be a portal or some other application that you have in house, you can certainly do that.
Okay, and then the last one that I see, Don, is
Sure.
really two questions together. Does the entire school system or school have to commit to ConnectYard, or can it be more granular? And I can address that, Don. How is ConnectYard licensed? And again, it's by user, but we certainly, one of the advantages of ConnectYard is that it can be implemented and ramped up on a gradual basis. So you could do a department, you could actually implement school-wide or system-wide if that's the environment that you're in. Okay, Eric, did you have another?
Sure, just asked if the ConnectYard app is free. I think that your comment about the flexibility with licensing the app addresses that in the sense that there is a fee per user for using ConnectYard.
Alrighty.
And then, Sherry, just to be clear, but not for Office 365. So for those of you that are following some of the questions there, the website for Office 365 has clarifications on the free offering, and then the additional components you can add for fee.
Alrighty. And that's those are the questions that I've seen. If I happen to miss any, Eric, if I happen to miss any, we can follow up with individuals directly. But again, we promised to keep it to an hour. And Don and Eric, unless you have other items that you want to cover.
But just this last slide here, it shows you where you can go and try the ConnectYard app for SharePoint Online for free. If you'd like to give it a spin. If you'd like additional details around anything, we have direct contact information here, and then also where to get started with the Office 365 education, which I'll let Eric take.
Yeah, and I would also mention that if you already have an Office 365 tenant, you can go into the SharePoint App Store from within your management portal of that tenant to get the app that way, which when you go to the other website, you eventually wind up at the same place. So two ways to get there. And then I would also mention that some of the presentation obviously here was also that there's opportunity for other people to develop their own apps for Office. So I wanted to call that out as well. But with that, that's all I have.
All right, great. Well, Eric, thanks again, and Mike and Anthony, thank you all for the wonderful presentation, and thanks to all of you for attending and asking all those great questions. If there are any additional questions that you do have, as Mike mentioned, we'd be happy to to take them, respond to them offline, one-on-one. Thanks so much.